So welcome everyone to Access to Universe, and we've been getting a lot of Ranger Key sets in the last couple of years, and Ranger Keys are alive and well again. I'm very excited for that. But now we've basically had 15 sets by my count, unless I'm missing a set here and there. But yeah, by my count, 15 releases so far. And I wanted to talk about how they'd rank individually, and that's why we have this video today. And I want to hear about your thoughts as well. Now, there's a couple of things that I do want to mention. As with pretty much any ranking video, remember guys, this is my ranking, not anyone else's. So your views will probably be a lot different, could be wildly different from what mine are. It's meant to spark a discussion. So I'd also like to know in the comments below what your ranking would be from sets that you might own. Even if you don't own them, you already know what keys are in the sets, right? So even the secret ones, secret keys have all been revealed. So just let me know what your thoughts are. The thing I want to mention is this is really coming from the perspective of someone who's been collecting Ranger Keys ever since they came out. So some of you might be like, X, but this set is really good because it allows me to collect Ranger Keys I wasn't able to back then. Then don't worry, this doesn't cover that. So this is really just covering the fact that Ranger Keys have existed ever since, and building on what came before. If you're a new collector, absolutely, these new Ranger Key releases are probably for you. So I wanted to start from the very bottom, but of course, one honorable mention, the Gokai Cellular Memorial Edition, because I didn't want to count it among the releases because it's not just a Ranger Key release. It includes a roleplay item. So the Gokai Cellular, obviously. It includes Time Fire Dragon Ranger and a Barrack Killer, right? But also it includes a really good Gokai Silver Metallic Key. The last one we had, the Gokai Silver Metallic Key, was an exclusive, limited to very few people, and it was very hard to get. It was never on my radar. So yeah, this one fulfills that need. Finally get a metallic Gokai Silver Key and a 2 Kaiser Key, of course. So I'm just gonna set that aside and not include it in the ranking. What we are gonna be including in the ranking later would be the Tsukai unit, or Tsukai unit. I personally consider it a Ranger Key release because the Tsukai unit itself is also technically a Ranger Key. It has a keyblade and everything, so I would definitely count it. So let's start from the very bottom. The Rainbow Edition Tokujo set, which comes in at 14. What does it include? It basically has 5 colors: red, blue, yellow, green, and pink, in various versions of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because Tokujo has line transfers, and the way those line transfers work is because red can be 1, can be 2, can be 3, can be 4, can be 5. So they literally had one key for every color and number combination. Can you imagine? So that was insane. And then they also had them for 0 and 100 and other variations too. And it just got really silly. And there was also one for just these joke costumes. I mean, they were forms, but they were also joke costumes in the movie, where they basically had like funny animal train zords. I don't particularly think that was a necessary addition to the set. Now, there were a couple of things that I really liked with this set. Tokyo 7, of course, and Tokyo 6 were necessary inclusions. Tokyo 1, of course, in his black costume and his rainbow costume. So those were all necessary. But again, this is essentially what, 40 keys. You need like less than a dozen. And this is probably like the biggest example of Bandai's greed when it comes to Ranger Keys, and we did not need a lot of these keys. And I do know of a lot of people who ended up selling off most of the variations of their red, blue, yellow, green, and pink keys so that they could just recoup the costs of what they bought. Totally get that. it was a really bad set. We did not need that many for just the Tokyujers. So yeah, that's Tokyujers at number 14, the Rainbow Edition. Now let's talk about the next one. 13th would be the They Both set. I was going back and forth between this one and the next one I'm gonna mention, but I kind of, there's a reason why I put it a little higher, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But the both keys, or the boss keys, however you'd like to call them, we don't need villain keys. So what essentially happened was, in order for them to release the 4 Ranger keys that were left with a Kyoryuju set, which would be Death Yuger, Kyoryu Navy, and then Gray and Cyan, the female version, what they did was they released the Debos keys. And now you're probably thinking, X, there's nothing wrong with releasing Debos keys. But yeah, but these are the only villain keys that we'd ever gotten. We didn't even get villain keys for Gokaiger. We don't need villain keys. They don't exist anywhere else in the line. They never came back. Basically, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unnecessary keys. Cool looking, sure, but still unnecessary keys. And 4 actual Ranger keys. And while this set includes a couple of my favorites, which is Death Yuger and Kyoryu Navy, still pretty low on the list for me. Not a lot in terms of new Ranger key value. The Debos Ranger key set is at number 13. Now the 12th would be, again, I was going back and forth, like whether to put this lower or higher on the list, but the 12th for me would be the Memorial Edition, 35 Reds. And you're like, why is it so low on the list? It could have been lower, guys. In my case, the fact that it's a separate key set that you don't need to get, it doesn't lock any new Ranger keys in with it. There's not a single Ranger key in here that will force you to buy the entire set. That's why it's a little higher on the list for me. Because yeah, you can. Again, I said I wasn't gonna consider this, but if you're a new Ranger key collector, can absolutely go ahead, blow your money on this, no problem. But older Ranger key collectors can just skip this and be fine. So that's why it's a little higher on the list for me. I feel like they were being considerate with this one. So yeah, that's why it's there. Number 12, the Memorial Edition, 35 Reds. And then for number 11, this one, I've already made my feelings known on this, both on Twitter and on the channel. It's the Memorial Edition Dawn Brothers and Anniversary Edition set. Okay, I have to say that the upgrade value is nice. When I say the upgrade value, the fact that you can get Goggle 5, NG Ranger, and Hurricaneger upgraded if you don't Hurricaneger has DX releases, but just upgrading them to being non-gashapon or more than deluxe is basically a good thing, right? You can get all these keys and they're better versions than before, and this is why it's higher on the list. But technically speaking, this is 6 new keys, and there are 22 old keys. So 6 keys versus 22 keys that technically you don't really need. And another thing about this is they did upgrade the paint on Mammoth Ranger and Tyranno Ranger and a bunch of them. But Dragon Ranger still has that not so detailed helmet. So that was weird. And again, just new key value is just 6 versus 22. So no, it's a no-go for me. So it's on the 11th spot. Did I get it? Of course. There's no other way for you to get the Dawn Brothers. It's a side effect that you get the Zoo Rangers upgraded and the rest of them if you want to. Sure, okay. But at this point, I think it is important for me to clarify that the next few ones, it's not so much that these are bad sets, it's just that I do have to rank them. 11 upwards to 14, I did think that those sets were kind of bad in a certain way, but these next few sets, it's not so much that these are bad sets, it's just that there are better sets. So let's start with the 10th one, which is the 2000th edition Zyuohger set, which did not include Zyuohger, which is incredibly funny. Zyuohger had an anniversary special with Gokaiger where they appeared in an episode and featured Ranger keys that were updated up to the time of Zyuohger, but not including Zyuohger because they were the featured team. So everything before Zyuohger was featured. So in this particular set, so you've got Ninja. So the entire set of Ninja keys, like everything. So all the versions of Red at the time. So this is missing the future Aka Ninja, but you've got everyone, like all the Ninjas plus Green, and all the versions of Red as well. There are some waist keys, so Kyoryu Pink and Tokyo Green. Those are keys that have already been released before, so there's not really any necessity to have them in this set. Just kind of padded the price, in my opinion. But as far as the set is concerned, other than the two waist keys, like this set. I like this set. The keys the reds tended to be a bit darker than a lot of the other Red Ranger keys, but that was corrected in the after Gokai set. But again, I love this release. I don't really have a lot of complaints about it. I don't even complain too much about the Kyoryu Pink and Tokyo key that were inserted into that. I don't mind it, to be honest. Let's go to the 9th one, which is this time the Metal Hero edition. This was nice, unnecessary but nice, because this basically featured every humanoid Metal Hero that was not previously released. So it was a fun set. It's just 10 Ranger keys, very straightforward. Everything was about Metal Heroes. Unfortunately, it did not feature any chrome keys, as was done in the complete edition, which came before. Otherwise, really nicely painted. If you wanted to celebrate VR Troopers, there you go. I like this set, to be honest. It don't bring it out too much. It's just in my box, but I do like it. It's pretty. Now let's go to the 8th one, the After Gokai set. Now you're thinking, X, there's a lot of new keys here. Why is it in number 8 and not any higher than that? It's because there's 4 waist keys in this, and so many Red Buster keys, even during the time that the Ranger key sets were being released. And then we've got Kyoryu Red, we've got Tokyo, we've got Ninja. We've already had all of these, but the rest, chef's kiss. Really great. Also great to see the new flip key function being used here. So yeah, I like this set, honestly. Let's go to the next one. For me, that's number 7, Akiba Ranger. Really cool to have 2 variations of the blue and yellow keys, both show accurate. Of course, the red key. Now this was re-released with the Sentai gear, and great. Not super necessary to get both, but the Memorial Edition, of course, has the flip function. So if you wanted that, then great, you can get that as well. Next up on my list would be the Complete Edition. I don't particularly love the name Complete Edition because I feel like it belongs more to the first set, which was the Legend Edition. But okay, I get why they did it. It's because they were thinking that they would complete the release by releasing the Metal Hero keys, which appeared in a special, as well as adding Ninja Man and Abare Pink, which were in the show. Not the Ranger key for Ninja Man, but the character. And just to round everything up, entire set is fulfilling a need basically in your collection. However, it's a lot of keys that are not necessarily a Ranger related. It's more like a Metal Hero set. This also comes with a bunch of chrome keys. I didn't particularly like the fact that you got chrome and metallic keys, and then they didn't do it anymore for the Metal Hero edition. So what ended up happening is I just ended up selling my metallic keys and kept the chrome ones. So I felt like that was just a way for them to pad the price. So yeah, I would put it at number 6. Now at number 5 for me, honestly, I would even consider this my favorite set, but my favorite set isn't necessarily my top set, because I try to be a little more objective with this list, even though it's my ranking. But my personal favorite set, for a bunch of reasons, is the movie set, which basically contains Megazord keys, Buddy Roy keys, and Phantom keys. And all of those keys, I love them so much. Like, they're not your typical Ranger keys in any way. So the Phantom Ranger keys are these crystal Ranger keys, and they're among my favorites. Then you have the Buddy Ride keys, and those Buddy Ride keys help you summon Megazord keys. So actually, yeah, if you watch the movie Go Busters versus Go Kaiser, the Phantom keys become the Buddy Ride keys, and the Buddy Ride keys help summon the Megazord keys, which are gigantic. And I truly enjoyed seeing that on screen, and I love the keys. They're just really great keys. I'm hoping that the Megazord keys, which are a unique mold, will be used for the eventual Zenkaiger set, because you know the Zenkaigers Rangers, the Zenkaigers, they're mostly Megazords or Mecha, of course, Megazords being a Go Busters term. So I would definitely prefer if they use that mold instead of typical Ranger key mold there. Okay, and number 4 I've got, and again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, the Gokai Tuika unit. So yeah, so the Memorial Gokai Tuika unit is essentially a Ranger key set entirely, because everything that comes in the set, essentially, unless it's part of the stand, is a Ranger key in a sense. The Suika unit itself has a keyblade, so I consider that part of the Ranger key collection. And everything else in that Suika unit set is new keys. So essentially, that entire box is new keys, and all of them are metallic. I definitely think we could see Bandai releasing a set with just the 6 Rangers from the earlier set, but this is a nice way to fill in all the other official 6th Rangers that Bandai and Toei considers to be 6th Rangers. And that pretty much is everyone. Two Kaiser rather, and Gokai Silver are included in the Gokai Cellular. So there you go. I would definitely put it on number 4. Number 3 for me would be Kyoryuger, because the entire set, and that's a lot of keys, and they're all Ranger keys. We just get one extra, which is Torin. I consider that a waste key because we've never had a mentor key before, so he's kind of the odd man out. Now, but everything else is a Ranger key, and I really enjoyed that. They did come with these audio boxes that you can activate the Kyoryuger sound in, but to be honest, for me, that's a negligible part. It's just important to me that there are new keys in the set, and a lot of them. So yeah, definitely number 3 for me. Number 2 for me would be the Lost Edition set, because for me, this is really what finished out the Ranger keys for the earlier part of the Ranger key collection. So up to about Go Busters and everything else that came before, it gave us missing Deca Ranger keys, Gosei Green, X1 Mask, etc, etc. So a lot of really cool Ranger keys that help pad out your Ranger teams. So for me, definitely at number 2. And at number 1, kind of the odd man out. The types of keys were not Memorial or Deluxe Edition. Sorry, not Deluxe, but Premium Edition. But they were basically, it's a Gashapon set. But the Legend Edition for me is number 1, because it is absolutely a necessity to have if you are a Ranger key fan. Like, if you don't have the Legend Edition set, it's incomplete. Your Ranger key collection is incomplete, because so many unique keys in that set. You needed it to complete your O-Ranger team. You needed it to complete your what else do we have? You needed it to complete your Maskman. You needed it to complete Turbo Ranger. You needed it to complete Die Ranger. So many, like Gingaman, Go-Go 5, all of them were there. It's kind of a mystery why they didn't just release Die Ranger, O-Ranger, Mega Ranger, Gingaman, and Go-Go 5 in the actual Gashapon releases, and they went with the older Sentai. But still, it's nice because like you have like legit full teams here. The only ones that weren't here were Blue Mask and O Pink, if I'm not mistaken, and those you can get in the Gashapon releases, but everything else is here in this set. Now, there is already an upgrade for the Goggle 5 set, so Goggle 5, if you're like a heavy fan of that, you don't need this. You can just get the new Dawn Brothers set, but otherwise, if you're a fan of everything, you definitely need this one. So, for me, this is the top set, and only one team from here has really been upgraded. So yeah, everything else is still a need if you're a Ranger Key collector. And this is something that a lot of newer Ranger Key collectors, a lot of Ranger Key collectors who are new are chasing down, because it's kind of getting hard to find. So I completely understand the stress of being a newer Ranger Key collector and having to track down this exact item, because this is the one that can complete your set. Everything else is just really, everything else is extra, but this is the necessary piece of your collection, so that's why it's in number 1 for me. So I want to know what your ranking is. It doesn't have to be for everything. Maybe just give me your top 5 in the comments. I want to know. I really want to know. I'm very curious. I was asking on Twitter, like I was having a hard time trying to determine what the worst Ranger Key set was for me. You know, not just for any reason, like, okay, I want to call something the worst Ranger Key set. No, I wanted to create this ranking, so that's the reason why I did that. I'm a big fan of Ranger Keys. It's basically my whole personality. But I'm very curious to know how you guys like your Ranger Keys, and would order them in terms of ranking, or if you have tier lists, that would be fun too. Anyway, let me know. Again, this has been X_Paco. You can also follow me at _Art of X. Socials here. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, I'm planning on doing a video of how I think Bandai could go about 2 or 3 different ways on how they can release Ranger Keys in the future, memorial editions probably. Some of which, some signs point to stuff that I don't particularly like. There are some things that I'm enjoying seeing how they're doing it. We'll talk about it very, very soon. That will be probably my next video on Ranger Keys. Till next time, peace out.